Once again, thank you to each and every one of you for having spared your time on a Sunday morning to listen to what is my effort to ensure that there is some light thrown on the way in which we can build panels, the manner in which we do our business. Is there a better way for us to do it? So these are the aspects which I'd like to deliberate on and then see how to take it forward. So the point is that I'd like to share that when I started business in the year 1990, I started business in a 1,000 square feet shed, conventional welding machines, hand shearing, flywheel for pressing, and we had spray painting in those days. And the point is that being a first generation entrepreneur, there was nobody to guide me, nobody to tell me what is the right thing for me to do and what is the not so right thing for me to do, right? And I had to figure it out all by myself. There have been several times in the career of, having been in business, I have fallen and I have had to get up by my own effort. I have, there's been a lot of trials and tribulations when, I have felt that I wish there was somebody to handhold me in whatever I'm doing. And, that's when I went through a continuous journey of learning. And every time I learned something, I would implement it in my business. And I found that there were results happening. And therefore, I really started respecting the amount of difference that learning can do to the way we run our business. And therefore, from the bottom of my heart, I feel that it's a big opportunity COSMA is giving me to share with each one of you what I have been able to pick up over a period of my journey as an entrepreneur. So just to recap what we looked at in the first step of our business, the first step, which is last Sunday, what we discussed, we said that for one to be in business and to be steady in business, we have to start with finding our purpose. We have to start with the why we are there in business. If we are clear on our why, what happens is it gives us direction. When we are at a crossroad on whether we should go this way or that way, it is that purpose that guides us and tells us that go in this path, not that path. Otherwise, you'll find yourself going in one path, then realizing, hey, this is not the right thing, and then coming back and then taking the other path. And in this process, you would have lost a lot of your time, energy, effort, money, morale, so on and so forth. Then we spoke about people do not buy what you say. People do not buy what you do. People buy why you say and why you do what you do, right? And this is very, very important. So every time we are into a particular business, we need to understand why we are in that business, and we need to communicate this also to our customer base loud and clear. And then we said that all of us are born twice. Once when we are physically born, and the second time when we understand why we have been born, right? What is the purpose of our life? And it is very important for us to get in touch with that reality. And then we saw the various stages of business. If you have all the 5 stages in a pyramid, the bottom portion where, most of the panel builders, especially the B and C category, they continue to be in the survival phase, which is the first phase. But once they get a little direction, then they go into a sustenance phase. They're able to sustain what they are doing. And it's only with a little bit more clarity and a little bit more, doing the right things that you move into the stability phase of your business. Now, very few panel builders are there in the stability phase. But once you realize the importance of what you need to be doing in order to continue in the stability phase and do all the right things, then it takes you to the success phase. Very few panel builders are there. And it is not that once you get into the success phase, you're always there. You could drop down to the stability phase. Important thing is awareness. And once you're aware of where you are, then it becomes that much more easier for you to take the next step. And then the final step on top we discussed is the scaling phase, where it becomes a kind of a spiritual responsibility for us to scale our business. And that is what would help mankind at large. And then we saw the Japanese, principle of ikigai, which is the sense of purpose. And what gives you that sense of purpose is when you identify what is your strength, when you identify what is it that the world requires, when you understand what is it that the world is prepared to pay you money for, and how the value therefore gets completely created, right? And last but not the least, we also had a deep dive into the theory of constraints. And we recognized that of all the quality tools which we have, the theory of constraints is one tool which is very suitable for the panel industry, because in our panel industry, it's always a kind of a agile manufacturing. It is always a kind of, we see a lot of changes. We see processes going up and down, not just sequential, but also parallel processes. And for us to maintain all that and make sense out of it and take it in the right direction, it is the theory of constraints which really makes a big difference. Today, in the second step, what we are going to be looking at is understanding how do we empower our execution. Now, over the last about 2 to 3 years in particular, I have been talking to a number of panel builders. And one of the things which I very frequently hear is that the panel builders appear to be preoccupied with the fears of competition. They start blaming competition, saying that it is only because of this bloody fellow it is only because of this guy that, I had to drop my prices. It is only because of that chap going and agreeing to the payment terms, I am also forced to be agreeing to these payment terms, and so on and so forth. It goes on this way. And I've seen panel builders who curse their fate of, I have come into this line, now I have to somehow survive in this line and get out of this line. And it's all on a negative emotion, negative feelings that the discussions take place. And they very grudgingly, they therefore get into working hard rather than working smart. They're invariably the first person to enter into the factory and the last person to leave the factory. It's a kind of a life which I really would like panel builders to sit by themselves and think whether this is the right thing what they are doing. Is there a better way? Because if that doesn't happen, what happens is that it leads to a lot of other complexities. Mindset is a very important aspect of, again, what we need to be aware of. You can either have the self-employment mindset, which says that, okay, my job mein tha, and in that job I was earning X rupees. So here I've started my business. Now I'm earning 1.5x, I'm earning 2x. Isse zyada kya chahiye? That is a kind of sustaining kind of a mode of thinking which settles into the mind. But if you really have a business mindset, then what is important is for you to understand that we are in business to generate wealth. And when we generate wealth, it is not just for personal aggrandizement, but it is also to have the power to give. You see, this is very important that each one of us will have to think how we can move from the self-employment mindset to the business mindset. Now, what I have learned in specific from Mr. Rajiv Talreja of Quantum Leap Solutions, it's a program which I would really strongly recommend for each and every one of you to undertake. He is one of those trainers whom I have found who has fantastic clarity in what he teaches, and the way he articulates it, you can see the missionary zeal in him. So what he has taught me is that there are three aspects, three foundational pillars of any organization, and I'm going to be talking to you in specific about the control panel industry. One is strategy, the second is systems, and the third is team. If you take care of these three pillars, invariably you would have taken care of 80-90% of what you need to be doing to track your business in the right direction. When we talk in terms of strategy, we talk in terms of how do we work towards a magnetic and profitable strategy, right? How do we make the business magnetic? What does that mean? It means that we don't go after the customers, but we run the business in such a way that customers come after us. Okay, yeah, it may sound very like a joke, but the fact is that it is possible. And how do we do that is what we need to be laying our hands on. And of course, once that happens, then you're automatically profitable. Systems, the tendency the moment you say systems is to bring in a system which become, invariably without our knowing, we start making it very complex. And that is something which we need to avoid. We need to have the right balance between trusting people and having systems, which means that it has to be simple, and only when it is simple, it is sustainable. And when we talk in terms of team, it is very important. We have to look at two factors which are very, very critical for manpower. One is that we need people who are committed to their organizational goals, and two, who are competent in terms of their skills and knowledge, right? So we'll go deep into each one of these aspects to understand how do we empower execution in our respective businesses. To start with, you take the strategy handle, and it all starts by sitting with yourself and thinking, what is it that you want to do? How big do you want your business to grow? What are the products and services that you would like to offer? And that will obviously come from what is your strength? What is it that you understand well? And what is it that you look at yourself as a professional, as a master to deliver in those areas? What is it that you can be unique and different in? This is very important. You have to blaze your trail, you have to not be like an ant when it goes on top of a sand. You don't understand that anything is passed that way. But when an elephant walks on sand, it leaves its footprints, right? So in a similar way, when we are in business, we have to leave our footprints, and our footprints will be left from the aspect of how unique and different we are. And then we have to look at what are the type of customers we would like to have. Are they going to be from the industry? Are they going to be from the building segment? Are they going to be from OEM? Are they going to be from the government segment? What is it that where do we want to focus on? And finally, how much money are we able to bring in? How much money are we going to be making? And so on and so forth, right? So we have to close that entire picture. And for us to close this entire picture, it's not enough if we do this thinking at the time of starting your business. No, this thinking has to be done every 45 days to 60 days. Every 45 days to 60 days, sit with the top team in your company and discuss these strategies. Are we on the right track? What is it that we did well? What is it that we did not do well? And what is it that we need to be doing differently? So this is something which is an ongoing process of understanding strategy. And this is very, very critical, first foundational block of what supports your business. Now, whatever I'm going to talk to you right now is, suppose you put all the panel builders in India, for that matter, even in the world, within this pyramid, then, this builds a lot of awareness in terms of understanding where you are in this pyramid. The majority of the panel builders are at the bottom portion, in terms of, not bottom or top doesn't imply good or bad, but bottom or top implies the number of panel builders who are there in a particular area. You find that the majority of them, if they are in Bombay, they focus only on Bombay. If they are in Bangalore, they focus only on Bangalore. So they're very local focused, right? So when your panel building is very local focused, then it automatically has to be relationship driven, right? So when you go to, say, a builder, then A to Z of whatever the builder would require, whether it's a metering panel, a DG synchronizing panel, APFC panel, a firefighting panel, or sub-distribution boards, or even air-insulated bus ducts, anything and everything which the customer wants, you offer. So you are a generalist. It's nothing good or bad about it. It is just for you to be aware as to where you are, right? And then, I have a friend called Ganesh of Former Plastic in Chennai, and he is a specialist in the sugar industry. VV Controls Bangalore, he is a specialist in thermal projects, in the power projects. You take Power Matrix in Bombay. Sony Jacob is a specialist in APFC panels, right? So when you are a specialist in what you do, then you can't find enough number of customers in one small part of the geography to take to avail of your services. So you naturally have to go national and international. And the beauty is that not only do you naturally have to go national and international, customers also hunt you out because you are a specialist in your particular area of technology, right? So it is important for you to understand that for every decision you take, of being local or being, global, of driving relationship or driving technology, there is a strategy involved in terms of how you take your business forward. So what is important is for you to understand whether you're more local driven or you're more national driven, right? And if you want to be more national and international driven, then you have to be a specialist in what you are doing. So just an understanding, and the in-between people are the people who are a combination of the two, right? They probably focused on South India or Western India or Northern India, so on and so forth. So there's nothing right or wrong about this. What's important is for you to be aware of where you are, and according to where you are, where you want to be, and according to where you are to where you want to be, you develop your strategy. So being aware and strategy focused is the key. Anand was talking some time back about how, as a businessman, you need to have a standard product and a customized product range. Why? Because when there is a cycle of order positions going up and down, when there is a down order position, then you have the option of manufacturing your standard range of products, right? So therefore, you shouldn't be putting all your eggs in one basket, but you must have different baskets, and typically 3 baskets. One is the easy to buy products, where people find it very easy to walk across, like lift control panel or an AMF control panel, so on and so forth. Machine control panels. For every machine, they'll have a standard panel, and it becomes easy for them to buy, easy for you to stock and sell. And then you have your primary products and your high value products. So the high value products are the ones where your specialization and technology comes to the fore, and therefore it gives you a premium return on investment as well, hopefully. And then you have your primary products, where they are your breadwinning products, and you therefore have a combination of these 3. So it's important for us to understand in our individual businesses, what is our easy to buy product. If we don't have an easy to buy product which we are manufacturing, can we think of something which can be an easy to buy product, so that it eases out on our ability to pan out the manufacturing of our business, right? So these are questions which we need to understand and be aware of. Last but not the least about strategy is, how do you develop marketing mastery, right? So when you talk in terms of marketing mastery, you must appreciate that whatever you are, whoever you are, it's not the best who does more business. It is the best known who does more business, right? I'll repeat. It's not the best who does more business, but it is the best known who does more business. So it's important for us to understand that it's not enough to be the best, but it is also important for us to be the best known. And how do we do that? We start off with our logo. We have to have an attractive logo. How many of us really focus on this? At the time when I started business, it was just a question of copy and paste what my brother was doing in Chennai. He called his company Money Sales. I called my company Money Sales Bangalore. It was only over a period of time that I realized that no, it is not right. Your logo itself should speak for who you are. And then you talk about brand promises. For example, in Modutech, we have 3 brand promises. And these 3 brand promises, we protect like our own lives. That is the essence of our business. And we call it the 3F brand promise. One is that we are faster in terms of reaching the enclosures to our customers. Number two, we are flexible in terms of the flexibility which the customer will find in our enclosures. And three is that we are fair priced, which means you compare our price across the board with any of the OEM panels, any of the enclosure manufacturers like Rittel, L Steel, you will find that we are more economical. This is our promise, right? So these are, it is important for each one of us to therefore visualize what is the kind of value which I'm planning to put across to the customer, and then convert that into brand promise, and then keep articulating these brand promises in all your literature and all your communications to your customers. And then mission clarity. So this is the why of the business. Like for COSMA, we sat down and then we arrived at a tagline for COSMA saying uniting panel builders, right? So the stage and phase of COSMA where we are today, it is important for us to unite panel builders. So that is the mission of the company. Similarly for Modutech, it is simplifying panel building. So that's the missionary zeal with which we come. And even conducting these kind of programs is part of the zeal of reaching out to panel builders and helping them to simplify their panel building, right? So this is what you need to have clarity as to what you stand for in your business. Brochures. Now, this is something, for those of you who have been abroad in particular and visited a overseas exhibition, then the kind of quality and the volume and the size of the brochures which people print overseas, it really puts Indian companies to shame, particularly the B and C category Indian companies. I think it's very important for us to realize as early as possible to really communicate what we are to the world through brochures. I remember when Rittel first came to Bangalore, they used to literally have about 1.5-inch thick, A4 size and slightly bigger than A4 size, if I remember, brochures where the entire range of their products would be there. And, even to carry that brochure would be difficult. And they would freely circulate those brochures. So this is very important for us to reach out to our customers. Website. I realized I was talking to my website. I came across a new website guy. So I was talking to him, and then he looked into my website and he said, Ramani, I would rate your website as 1 out of 10. I said, what? He said, yes. And he listed out the reasons why he rates my website as 1 out of 10. Mine is done on WordPress. He says, you have to really go for coding. You have to have an interactive website. And he came out with so many brilliant ideas. Now I've engaged him, and soon, hopefully, you will see a new website for for Modutech. Similarly, digital marketing, it's just 2 words, but the kind of focus which we all need to be giving to digital marketing today in order to survive in our businesses, in order to sustain and go into the success phase and scale phase, it is very, very critical. Whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, even WhatsApp broadcast communication to all your contacts, email marketing. Email marketing, you have softwares today which will tell you exactly how many number of emails which you sent has gone directly into the junk folder of your person who you have addressed it to. How many of them have actually opened the your email? How many of them have opened and worked on it in terms of either clicked on it and whatever is the link what you had provided and seen the next page? Those of them who forwarded your mail to somebody else, all this data is possible online. So I think it's important for us to evaluate all this in the context of our businesses and see how we can leverage them to reach out to our customers that much more faster, smarter, and better. Referrals is an important aspect of a switchboard business. Why? Because people buy your switchboard not for the love of it. People buy your switchboard for the fear of it. They are afraid what will happen if your switchboard fails. And that is the reason why referrals become so important in our industry. And then we have influencers, electrical consultants, project management consultants, who write out the specifications and who influence the buying decision. We have to be in touch with them and ensure how we can add value to their businesses as well. Business networks like COSMA, like EMA, like CII, they form such an important aspect of networking in the industry, of getting information about the trends in the industry. And therefore, it's very critical for us to be in touch with these kind of business networks. And in this, the bottom line is involve and evolve. If you just belong, it doesn't help. You have to involve yourself into the association, and then you automatically evolve in the, by seeing all the benefits which it has to offer you. Partnerships is another very important aspect which panel builders will have to be seriously considering. Now, when I say partnerships, the partnership can be either backward integration or forward integration. When you look at backward integration of partnerships, it is with the principal companies, like how our Sanjeev Bhai is now focusing on Schneider, right? So when he focuses like this on Schneider, then his sales force is not just his sales force, but it is also the sales force of Schneider who will be marketing his company to their customers. Similarly, when you look at forward integration, if you look at our Ellens in Bangalore are doing very well because they have forward integrated into Micron Electricals, who are electrical contractors. And almost 70 to 80% of their business comes from Micron Electricals. So therefore, it helps them to grow the business in a predictable manner as they go forward, right? Now, if you look at the number one panel builder in India, it's clearly L&T. They are in the range of around 1,500, 1,800 crores, I don't know, approximately in that range. Now, if you look at what makes them an undisputed number one in the market, they are both strong on backward integration, which means they have their own switchgear. They're very strong on forward integration. They have their own EPC contracts, which feeds the panel building division on a regular, sustained, and predictable manner. So this is the way we also have to orient our businesses. Going forward, we have blogs where you share your thoughts, you share your ideas. And once you put blogs into your website, then your website viewership goes up tremendously. Mailers, e-newsletters, all these are aspects which one will need to be exploring. And it sort of, brings a personal touch with your customer base, and it pays a lot because you get known for who you are. Now, the last portion of this strategic thing is the best portion. And that is when you, over a period of time, develop a certain specialization in your business, you've learned a lot, right? And when you've learned a lot, what do you normally do? When your cup is full, then it overflows, right? So you write a book capturing all the essence of what you have learned for the benefit of the relevant industry. Now, what happens is, I know people who go to a customer and instead of giving them a visiting card, they gift them a book, what they've written, right? And you can imagine multiple X is the kind of response which they will get, and you are automatically recognized as a guru in your line. And there can be nothing more differentiating for you in your business than this. Similarly, educational videos. The love you have for your community is, it is when you share your knowledge. And when you release educational videos, which makes an impact in the other person's life, automatically you're increasing not only your brand value, but also the brand value of your company. And incidentally, I am doing exactly that, right? So, and I'm very grateful to COSMA for giving me this platform. And this is very important because I have had a lot of good feedback after the first session. And, I also take a lot of pleasure in doing this. I also genuinely do this, and therefore it will have a reciprocal kind of a effect in what we do, right? So this is when you do all these things, you take all these steps in a proper manner, then you will automatically recognize that a time will come when you don't have to go to the customer will search you out and come behind you. Right? This is what is called a magnetic and profitable strategy for the business. So this is the first foundational pillar. Let's move on to the second foundational pillar. The second foundational pillar is your systems in your company. Now, there's a beautiful acronym for system. And it says that when you have a system, then this is what is the benefit it gives you. And it says it saves yourself stress, time, effort, and money, right? So the point is that how many of us recognize this? How many of us really appreciate this? Or is it that we know it, but we are not willing to do? This is a barrier which we will have to overcome. Now, when I looked at the panel industry, just to share with you from my own experience, we are bringing out, we first brought out the Modsim software in a 2D platform, and we realized that it had a lot of limitations. So we are now moving to a 3D platform. Now, when you look at the panel, the standardization of the panel is very, very important. The panel manufacturing is very much more standardized overseas when you compare it with what we do in India. And this we discussed in the step 1 of our discussions as well. Now, the first thing which I ventured to do is, cater to the 80% requirement of my customers. And when I look at 80% of each customer's requirement, I realize that a height of 2100, everybody is by and large comfortable with. So we standardize on one height of 2100 plus the base channel. The second thing which I did was I said, let me have just 2 depths of the panel. I want to limit the number of depths in which a panel is done. And when I say 2 depths, I have 600 mm and 420 mm. Now, the beauty is I don't have any other depths. I mean, this is for 80% of the requirement. When a customer wants a 1020 mm depth, he just adds a 600 plus a 420. What if he needs 1200? He just adds 600 plus 600, so on and so forth. He can even go up to 1200 plus 420 mm, right? And the beauty of this 600 plus 420, how does one choose this? Typically, in a 420, you can have single run of bus bar, RYB neutral. In 600, you can have 2 runs of bus bars, RYB neutral. So, a complete understanding of how switchboard engineering has to be done is very, very essential to standardizing what would make sense for the panel builder. And once this is done, then you're able to scale the business, right? And in fact, we're not going to be stopping with just the mechanical part of the software, 3D software. We are also going to be, hopefully before the end of this year, introduce an electrical part of the business of the software also, which will give you that much more comprehensive approach to both estimation as well as engineering. Let me take another example of systems which I'm working towards in a very serious way, and that is ERP Next. I picked up this clue from Acusonic, a panel builder from Pune, Mr. Prashant Deshpande, a dear friend of mine. And he was telling me that he implemented this open source software in his company by himself. He knows a little coding, I guess. And he was swearing by the software, saying it has simplified his entire company's manufacturing so beautifully. Subsequently, when I met Ringless Controls of Kerala, Shaiju there also shared with me that even in his company, they have implemented ERP Next. Then, I connected the two and said, isme kuch, cheez hona chahiye. So I delved deeply into ERP Next, and then my business consultant and also co-director in Modutech as well as load controls, one Ms. Srivatsala, she told me that Zerodha, for those of you who know about this company, it's a unicorn. They swear by this ERP Next software, and in the company where Zerodha has invested in, called Organic Mandya, they are going ahead and implementing ERP Next. So I said, Shaiju, can you please help me to implement ERP Next in my company? And he has very willingly come forward. Now, we have just about launched ERP Next in my company, where everything is going to get streamlined. My head of operations, he says that, sir, 1 person from stores, 1 person from purchase, we will not require once the software is implemented. Right? And the beauty is that there are going to be a lot of relevant templates which we are working on. So I've been talking to Shaiju and saying that, look, if these templates are relevant to the panel industry, can we offer it to COSMA? Can we offer it to the B and C category panel builders who would love to have an ERP package, but they are not able to afford one? And this being an open source software with these kind of templates readily available, they can easily implement it for practically zero or very little cost, right? And Shaiju and I are working on this, and we'll get back to you on this very soon. In the electrical dealer industry, I was talking to you about Shriyanam, and incidentally, I spoke to him yesterday, and Nandan confirmed that last year he did 650 crores turnover in his electrical trading business and zero working capital, right? And he has said that he will think about addressing COSMA. I'm going to be meeting him next Sunday, and I'll push this case a little bit more, requesting him to come and talk to us about how he has been able to achieve this. It's fantastic. I mean, it's not a very simple formula. It is a little complicated, but it's very learnable. And if we are able to learn it, then there is a lot which we can achieve in terms of running our businesses also with zero working capital. Now, the moment he implemented an ERP package, which is very focused on electrical trading, it's not ERP Next, some other ERP, he has actually liked it so much, and he says that is the single reason why he is able to scale his business to this kind of a level. And he has also gone one step forward by investing in that company which has developed this software. And then when our Pranav Doshi of Novatech heard about this success story, he has also adapted the same ERP, which works beautifully for his business. And as you're aware, he has already scaled his business to several cities in India. Vashi Electricals, they have their own ERP software, and Jatan has also shown me, in their cell phone, they're able to understand, given the catalog number, what is the inventory they are carrying. And unless and until such systems are there in our business also, it's going to be very difficult for us to scale the business. So let's think about that seriously. COSMA, we have been doing a lot of things to get onto the growth path. We have been wanting more membership. We have been wanting to scale our entire value add to the industry at large. So what are the things which we have done? We have, for the first time, printed an application form, membership application form in color with our Chairman Emeritus's beautiful message, inviting panel builders to join this beautiful organization, right? We have developed this WhatsApp group, and even last week, we have been doing a lot of overhauling exercise to ensure that the value is reaching the right people. We have appointed a new manager with clear roles and responsibilities, right? We have renovated our office, so on and so forth. Now, last Sunday, we had discussed that it's very easy to be successful. What do? We just look at somebody who's successful and then copy paste, right? Similarly, when we look at our own brethren, we find that EMA is a very successful organization in the sphere of activities which it has undertaken, right? There are a lot of things which we are doing a copy and paste right now. For example, this involving ourselves into IPMA exhibition. Like we have one manager in our office, there are several managers whom EMA have employed, and not only in one city, but several cities. So this is generally the route which COSMA will also have to take in terms of building its system in order for it to scale its operations, right? So this is the importance of systems in any business, in any institution. Now, there is generally a kind of a cycle. It's a success cycle which happens for any business, and talking about it from a context of a panel builder, it's very important for us to understand how this success cycle works, right? It starts off with attraction, right? We attract the right kind of customers, we attract the right kind of policies, we attract the right kind of people into our business, and then next phase, it comes to retention. When you find that somebody is really good, don't blink an eyelid before paying him more than industry standard, right? This is something which is very, very important. Only for the winners in the organization, only for the real doers in the organization. And then we look at optimizing. We look at seeing which are the customers who are giving us profit, which are the customers not giving us profit, weed out the non-profit customers, focus more on the profit-giving customers, and then see how you can build a system keeping these customers in mind. Once you have built a system, then the next step is delegation, right? So you find the right kind of people to delegate the business to, and then you bring in a lot of technology to automate the business, right? So what we spoke about, ERP and so many aspects, you can actually, if you're in the service industry, you can actually track on the Google map where your service engineer is at any given point of time and how much time he has spent at that particular location. And all this will help you to further expand the business. So this cycle of success is something which all of us will have to dwell on and keep associating where we are in our business as against where we need to be. Once we do that, then what are the benefits we get? The first benefit is that we get clarity, and there is consistency in whatever we do, which leads to scalability of our business. We are automatically able to take better decisions, and we are also able to focus the business. We are no longer distracted from one end to the other, right? And all this simplifies delivery, and there is a learning curve which automatically gets built in order for us to constantly look at continual improvement. And another beautiful thing which happens is that your interpersonal relationships improve in the business. Now, business is about people, people is about business. And it is very important for us to have the right kind of relationship. And this is something which really, goes up. Why? Because there's a lot of predictability in your role in the organization. There's a lot of predictability about the other person's role in the organization. There's no clashes, there's no overlaps, and therefore there is this environment which is set to ensure that the relationship improves. And then all this, when it happens, automatically the customers perceive a better experience. And when customers perceive a better experience, everybody wants peace of mind. Everybody wants, when the order is given, they should not go on following up for the delivery, right? So all this automatically happens, and the customer gets that feeling of comfort when he deals with you. Then he automatically comes back to you again. Now, all the systems, when we have to set right, the qualification is a very important aspect. My mind goes back to the initial days of business. I was an electrical trader catering to the building industry. So naturally, I went behind builders to pick up my orders for panels, and there was no qualification. Whichever builder wanted whatever kind of panels, we used to take it, quote, and execute. Over a period of time, when I engaged Mr. Ramas of Aspire Infinite, he's another beautiful coach from Mumbai, and he's a theory of constraints specialist. He taught me and my team the importance of qualification. Now, what happens is, when we are in business, we have to understand that we need to constantly understand what is the needs, desires, and problems of our customer. The moment the customer will not tell you that. You have to ask questions and probe. Only then you will get to know, because the problem of one customer will be different from the problem of another customer. And unless and until you understand the problem and add value in the right way, the right quantum, that's when the customer gets close to you. And that's when the fit is right, between your ability to contribute and the customer's need getting resolved. So this is an important lesson we all have to be aware of. Now, this is the funnel. We get a lot of inquiries in our business, right? The important thing is that we have to qualify this. Now, today we have a checklist for qualification. And once the leads comes, then the sales takes the decision as to which to quote for, which not to quote for. And as you quote for the right inquiries and pick up the right kind of orders, proof of the pudding is in eating it. The proof of a right order is in the return on investment, what the business gets. So we have to keep measuring the return on investment on each project which we execute, and then keep optimizing this campaign, right? We keep weeding out the customers who are low on ROI and keep increasing the focus on customers who are high on ROI. All these are disciplines, and if these are done in a consistent basis, then automatically profitable growth will be part and parcel of your individual journey. And the key is to be focused. We have to stay focused on this. The moment you slip on this, and how do you be focused? Every day you have to spend just 10 minutes with your sales team and understand how they have qualified the inquiries. If this is done on a consistent basis, then you're more likely to be with the right kind of customer base. Another aspect of systems which we need to be constantly on the lookout for is that business leaders in the world, they have put their heads together and they have formulated what is called ISO 9001, which takes care of the systems and processes in your company, which enhances the quality of your produce. Then you have 14,001 and 45,001, which basically have to do with the EHS, the environment, occupational health, and safety of your entire organization, of the people who are working in your organization. So now what happens is when you opt for becoming an ISO company, not just for 9001, but 14,001 and 45,001 as well, subconsciously, a training when it takes place on focusing on quality, environment, health, and safety, a culture gets developed in the organization, a culture of learning and growing, a culture of being sensitive to sustainability, which is very, very important for our planet. Look at the good work Sadhguru is doing. I don't know how many of you are following him. 30,000 kilometers he's traveling on motorcycle, irrespective of the climatic conditions. And all he's doing that is for saving the soil and taking this message to the world, right? Unless we save our soil, we are not going to be sustainable. And just like we need to do certain things to save our soil, there are things in our business also which we need to be doing in order to being sustainable. And it is important for all of us to understand this and bring it into the culture of our organization. We have to bring in standard operating procedures in each and every area of our working. Checklists, this is a huge area of learning which has to go into your checklist, which keeps evolving and giving direction to the people in the different functions. Flow charts, 5S, which is your housekeeping aspect, 8W, which is to consider the various wastes which are happening in the company. And how do you, with your awareness of each type of waste, work towards arresting those wastes and generally looking at what are the better practices in the industry. One thing which keeps the focus of the team in this direction is when you talk in terms of submission of monthly reports in each and every area of their functions and seriously implement the performance management system in the organization. What the ISO culture ultimately tells us and what we need to live by and what we need to understand is that you are what you do, not what you say you'll do. So there has to be a lot of what you say and what you do, there should not be a gap between. There will be, but you keep shrinking the gap. Keep being aware of the gap and keep shrinking it. This is the importance of focusing on systems in the organization. Now, having seen strategy, having seen systems, let us get on to the third pillar of people, right? Now, when we look at people in the organization, and I know most of us as panel builders, we face this problem about having the right kind of people with us. And the easy thing is that, we get a family person, a relative who wants a job. What we do is we bring in the person and the person fits the role. And that's the wrong thing to do. Why? Because what we need in business is not a family. We need an army culture. Now, what is an army culture? You first define the role and then you get the person to fit the role. That is when you say shoot, the guy knows that he has to shoot and where to shoot, how to shoot, right? Now, this is a beautiful matrix, what you see here. And this is the matrix between competence and commitment. Now, if you put the entire people who are working in your organization into this matrix, and if you say that it starts with the point 0 and then goes to the point 10, and you score each individual in your organization, where he stands on his commitment level and where he stands on his competence level, you will automatically understand that the green matrix here, the green quadrant here, is the quadrant where you have your high competence and high commitment people. They are the stars of the organization. And they are the people whom you have to ensure that you pay them a little above industry standard, and really look at how to keep giving them feedback to monitor their progress, and they are the stars in the organization. Now when you look at people who are high on commitment but low on competence, right? So or high on competence and low on commitment, these two quadrants, they are the developables in the organization, right? So when a person is high on commitment but low on competence, then the obvious thing for you to do is to see how to train him and improve his competence. And then when somebody is high on competence but low on commitment, then you have to really sit with him and understand what are his personal aspirations. Where does he see himself 3 years from now, 5 years from now? Understand what is it that is bothering him, or what is the journey he wants to take up for his life, and then see where is the journey which you want to take for your company, and then where is the mid path, and how do you synergize that and take it forward. So this is very important, that unless you know this, unless you do this exercise, you will not know what is the next step to be taken. And therefore the performance management system becomes an important aspect of how we manage our people. And then you invariably will also have people with low competence and low commitment, and they are the people whom you warn them once, warn them twice, tell them that what they're doing is not on, give them feedback, and then if nothing works, weed them out. Because in business, we cannot be doing social service. We have to, there is an area for social service and there is an area for business. So when you're in business, it's wealth creation. Wealth creation needs an army, and army is a culture which we develop, and this is very, very important. For all this to be pakka, we need to focus on the roles and responsibilities. See, while we judge the people on commitment and competence, as a business owner, we also have a responsibility. Our responsibility is to ensure that we constantly and continuously clarify to the individual what is their role and responsibility in the organization. Once the role and responsibility is clear, then the individual also has a clarity of the path, and then he is able to move forward in that direction. Now, organization, it is important to understand again what is the need for your organization in terms of structure, whether you want a hierarchical structure or you want a flat structure. I normally say that hierarchical structure is important, but when it comes to serving the customer, then it's a flat structure. Nobody waits for anybody's decision. We trust them, and then they spontaneously serve the customer. Functions, there are essentially 4 major functions, and then there are sub functions: sales and marketing, operations, people, and cash. We have to understand how we earmark the people in these functions, and then we delegate responsibility with authority. Quite often we find that responsibility is given but no authority is given. It just doesn't work. Or authority is taken but no responsibility is discharged. That also doesn't work. So all these are parametrics which we need to be aware of and keep understanding where we are and where we need to go to. For paucity of time, I'll just run through this. We need to, every 45 days to 60 days, again, look at our organizational chart. And then we have to question it. Is there a possibility to tweak it? Every cabin of our head of departments, we need to see that there is clear departmental objectives displayed in their cabins, so that clarity gets built into the organization. Role and responsibility, performance management, rewards and recognition, and last but not the least, the second line leadership is also very, very important. We have to constantly think in terms of how we are going to manage that, because if one person leaves, the organization shouldn't suffer. When you come to people, what is visible outside is the skills and knowledge of the person. But just like the tip of the iceberg, what is underneath that, what is invisible, is that the person comes with his own attitudes, his own learnability or non-learnability, his own resilience or resistance to change. So it is very important for us to understand where each one of our people come from, and then we train them in the soft skills. There are a number of soft skills which we need to continually train our people in, which is handling objections, negotiation skills, communication capabilities, problem solving and decision making skills, self awareness, emotional intelligence, collaboration, not competition, ethics and values, training and mentoring. They also need to train their subordinates, time management. The calendar, the online calendar today is a big tool. How many of us are using that tool? I don't know. But it's very important to be looking at all these aspects of seeing how we can take our people along with us, how we can train them, how we can show them a better way of managing themselves. It is very important for us to keep hiring the right people at the right time. And this is more easily said than done. And when we want the right person, we have to visualize first what is it that we want in terms of the person, and then put that down in terms of a clear document of a job description. And then we go online. There are a lot of tools like Naukri.com, Monster.com. LinkedIn has got a job search profile, beautiful one. WhatsApp broadcast, where you can inform all the relevant people in your industry, hey, I have this opening. If you know somebody, please let me know. And then offline, where you have HR consultants. We must have at any given point of time a reliance on at least 3, ideally 8 HR consultants, because each one will have their own priorities, and we need to follow up and get the right kind of resumes when we want to hire the right kind of people. Business contacts should be leveraged, and even employees can be rewarded for bringing in a colleague or a person known to them, so that they can, that recommendation also helps in a big way. So hiring the right person is a very critical part of running the right kind of business. Last of the slides on the team, building the team, is that we have to constantly be aware of what is the kind of culture we are developing in our business. And it's very important for us to constantly direct the business towards a win-win-win culture. It's very sad when I look out how many of, all of us have had experiences of customers taking us for a ride. They have scant respect for the vendors. And then you have vendors who have scant respect for their customers. And these are all short-lived approaches. We need to truly respect the employees, the customers, and the stakeholders in a business. And it's only when we think in terms of everyone winning that success is possible. And for this to happen, we have to appreciate that, we have to constantly examine the kind of relationships we are having. Is it resistant or is it responsive? What is the energy that is there in the business, amongst the people? Is it reactive or is it proactive? You'll find that when the energy levels are low, people are generally reactive. They wait for instructions. They are not proactive. What is the level of commitment? Is it conditional commitment or unconditional commitment? What is the level of performance? Is it reasonable or unreasonable performance? That is what I really love. We must have our performance as unreasonable. We have to challenge ourselves every day, at every instant, at every opportunity. And that is what leads to results which are not just ordinary, but which are extraordinary. So what is important is for us to sit down, with the top team in the company and list out as to what is it that we recognize as responsive relationship, as unconditional commitment, as extraordinary results. And each one comes out with their own thoughts in this direction. Then we work out into what is called the culture charter. And culture charter is something, once it is declared, it is put up there and everybody follows that as the fundamental rule of the game. And once you do this exercise, it builds the kind of sensitivity and awareness in how important this is for the organization. So friends, that brings me to the end of my presentation. And before I close, I'd like to mention that the third step, all what we have said so far is not going to be consistent unless we are able to convert them into habits and disciplines. And that is what we will be covering in the third step. How do we make better decisions? How do we stay on track? How do we go the smart way rather than the hard way? How do we do that? By focusing on our goals, right? And making it, and what are the habits and disciplines which power and enable these things. Okay. So I do hope that you all enjoyed this, and I do hope that you all would once again come back whenever Anand fixes the third step, and look forward to more of these kind of interaction. I enjoyed this journey. I do hope you all did too. Thank you, and see you all again.